Hi, I'm Ken Every. I'm the principal timpanist of the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra. I have been here now 30 years. Before the Jacksonville Symphony, I played in the New World Symphony in Miami. I also played in Italy for a couple years in the Radio Symphony of Turin. It's a really good question. Maybe Shostakovich 10, because it's just so much fun and there's such a dynamic contrast in that piece between the absolute softest you could possibly imagine and to the absolute loudest that you can possibly play. So, and I just played an excerpt from the ending of that, and probably on stage with the orchestra I would have played it twice as loud, but we're in a small room, so I held back. So that's just so much fun to play. And the Sibelius symphonies are incredibly fun to play. They're so musical, and you're supporting the orchestra with tremolos most of the time, and you're a very melodic part of the orchestra. My favorite part of playing in the orchestra, I would say, is community. I love just the interaction with my colleagues in rehearsal. We have a lot of fun, although it's very serious. We are generally all very friendly with each other. We socially spend time with each other. I love the interaction with the conductor, with Courtney. The timpani position is very important and integral. Obviously, all instruments are, but between the conductor and the timpani, we have a real relationship. If he wants to change the tempo suddenly, I just need to be watching him all the time. So I just love the intensity of the focus that's required all the time. And it's so nice to go to work. You call it work, but I don't feel that it's work. It's my passion. And I just wish everybody had the opportunity to do what made them happy as a career. And it's just amazing. I mean, I get butterflies when I play, and there are times in concerts it's just so overwhelming, the emotion. So I wouldn't trade that for anything. Yes, I have broken a timpani head. Playing Shostakovich 10 in Italy with calf heads. These are plastic heads, by the way. They're very difficult, if not impossible, to break. I will show you what a calf head looks like. Ta-da! This is a calf head. We tuck them ourselves, and they're incredibly expensive. So if you break a head, it's going to cost the organization. Hopefully, a set of heads will last a season. They're probably 4 times as expensive as the plastic heads, but they have an incredible sound, great warmth, and they bring a lot to the sound of the orchestra, but they're very hard to maintain. So, and they're also somewhat fragile, even though you can really put a lot into it. If you somehow hit in the wrong place in the wrong way, don't get off the head enough, you will go through a calf head. And it's something that happens to every timpanist, that's for sure. If I didn't play the timpani, well, within the orchestra, maybe the oboe. It sounds crazy, but I love the idea that the oboe is so expressive and so important to the ensemble. But outside of the orchestra, I play drum set, and I love playing drum set. So that's one of my passions, is playing drum set. And I think if I weren't playing timpani, I would love to do that full time, to play in a band. How do I warm up before performance? Usually I'm at home. I try to get to the hall about an hour before the concert, but at home I'll have dinner, drink a cup of coffee, believe it or not, and then I will warm up on some practice pads. I can show you what a practice pad looks like. Here's one. So I can play at home, not make too much noise or disturb the neighbors. And I will, playing timpani is pretty athletic as far as the stroke is concerned. You're just going for a very consistent stroke. And so that's basically what I work on at all dynamics. And it's not so much, warming up for me is a matter of sort of memorizing the feeling before I get on stage. So it doesn't take hours and hours to warm up. You just know when you feel right and things don't feel strange in your hands. The sticks don't feel foreign in your hands, which can happen. And especially when you get nervous playing, which is inevitable, you will sometimes do things like tighten up or compensate by releasing the stick where it shouldn't be released, doing all sorts of strange things. So you're warming up and practicing to try and eliminate those habits. I'm not a huge fan of solo timpani works. So I've played some solo pieces. We premiered a work by Russell Peck years ago. But I like the sound of the timpani within the orchestra. Anytime they try and elevate it and make it the feature of the orchestra, I tend to honestly get a little bored. I just think the timpani's place is within the orchestra, creating colors, rhythms, and being the backbone of the pitch with the low strings. So many great timpani parts, and we were so lucky to be able to play these incredible masterpieces. I would say had the great fortune of being able to play Beethoven 9 this year, and for a timpanist, that's kind of a dream come true. So we played that this year, and also we played Brahms 1 this year and Sibelius 1. So gosh, so lucky. But I think for me, Beethoven 9 is the pinnacle, for sure. Yes, a big part of being a timpanist is maintaining your equipment. So absolutely, the timpani heads need to be changed at least once a year, and we've got 3 sets of drums. It's very time-consuming and very frustrating too, because absolutely everything on the timpani needs to be perfect. The roundness of the bowl, the flatness of the bowl, your counter hoop, your tension rods, and then you have so many variables of things that can go wrong. We lose sleep over it. And then the same can be said for the timpani heads. We play plastic heads in Florida. Sometimes we play calf, and I have played calf, but it requires a lot of maintenance to keep the drums, the heads in tune and clear with themselves. And also, when they're shipped to us, typically they arrive damaged, and we'll have to return them and say, I'm sorry, they got messed up en route and they need to be replaced. Because you'll get a timpani head and you'll open it up and immediately you'll see either there's a wrinkle or it's a little out of round, it got messed up in transit. So that's a real nightmare. So sometimes we have those put in wooden crates and shipped to us. Calf, it's a little easier in a sense because you're tucking the timpani head yourself. You're literally wetting it, cutting it, putting it on a hoop. But once it's on the drum, it's a lot of maintenance because the pitch changes with the weather. But yes, a big part of our job is maintaining the equipment, our sticks, which either we cover on our own or Oftentimes we'll have, depending on the style of stick you use, you might send them back to get recovered, but we all know how to recover our sticks. And yeah, there's a lot of maintenance and arts and crafts involved in playing timpani and percussion. Ah, what mallets do I use? Gosh, I am a bit of an addict. And as you can see from my collection, and this is only part of my collection, I have so many sticks and I keep ordering more. I don't know what's wrong with me. So I play different styles, different ways of playing. There's a sort of the more American style of stick. I have some Ginters and Tom Freer sticks. And then I have a lot of sticks made in Germany and Japan, and those are all these sticks here that you can see, also made by Jason Ginter, by Kato in Japan, by Weisserth in Germany. These sticks, you're lucky if you can get on his waiting list. It takes about 2 or 3 years if he even responds to your email. I'm on a waiting list for a pair of harder sticks. It's been 3 years now. I check in with them every now and then. They're all handmade. So all of my sticks are handmade. And there's a variety of sticks. This is a Cleveland style stick. And they're all bamboo, and this is wood. And they've got a variety of heads or cores. Either they're traditionally cork, wood, felt, but then there's lots of coverings over that. You know, over the wood you could have a couple of layers of piano felt, and then over that, or a billiard felt, then over that, American felt or German felt. It's all, again, arts and crafts and trying to come up with a sound that you want and picking the right stick for the right moment in a symphony is really important. That's a good question. Sometimes we'll have, sometimes composers will be very thoughtful and they will, in their minds, know what it takes to change a pitch on 4 drums, the traditional setup of 4 drums. And they'll be reasonable and say, oh, probably take 4 measures to change 4 pitches. And sometimes they'll be completely unreasonable, and which pushes the boundaries for us, which is good, and they'll give us absolutely no time. So we spend a lot of time figuring out our pedalings, our stickings and our pedalings. I can't recall what is the least amount of time, but a lot of times we're tuning on the fly, where we're literally tuning while we're playing. So kind of like a trombone or any other instrument within the orchestra, you're changing your pitch as you're playing or right before, and sometimes you're changing all 4 notes and you've got a couple measures to do it. So that is one of the most difficult parts about playing timpani is pitch changes. And for a long time, drums did not have pedals. They only had these handles, and pitches were not changed regularly. And Beethoven was one of the first that started changing pitches within a symphony. We just played Beethoven's Ninth. It started on an A and D, and then it goes to octave Fs, and then a B flat and F, and an A and D in 4 different movements. And that would have been very challenging on those traditional drums back then, because they would have had to have changed maybe 6 or 8 of those T handles and get them in tune. And depending on the conductor, there might have been an attacca, and who knows what, how things sounded. And they were using natural heads, so it was very challenging.